USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Shotgun Spratling for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Oregon State week. Now, this is the day where we can only see 50 minutes of the Trojans, but we were able to pick up some key observations. Drake London and Nick Figueroa returned to practice, were able to get some work in, but we didn't see Jalen McKenzie, and that's someone who we reported left practice early yesterday. And then this was the second day in a row where we didn't see Jackson Dart on Howard Jones Field. So, Shotgun, out of all those names I just listed, what's the most important for USC?
Well, for the fans, it'll be Jackson Dart not being at practice. So there's no true quarterback controversy this week. There's no quarterback competition between Jackson Dart and Kedon Slovis. Miller Moss has been getting all the backup reps. He's going to go into the game as the backup, it looks like, because Jackson Dart has not practiced. And Dante Williams said earlier this week that if he doesn't practice, there's no quarterback competition with him and Kedon Slovis. So, I think that's the one for the fans that'll be most notable. But really the biggest one is Drake London. Getting him back, and, he's been such a huge target for USC. He's leading the nation in a number of receiving categories right now. Getting him back and, from that big hit that he took with the ground, slamming his head down on that second touchdown after a 13-catch, 170-yard performance in that game. Getting him back, because he's been the go-to guy, both for Jackson Dart and for Kedon Slovis, to have that safety blanket to know I can throw it up to that guy, he'll go make a catch. He's got 8 contested catches already this season, which is, a tremendous amount, leading the nation in that category as well. So getting him back is really big. A notable one is Nick Figueroa, though. Yep. He's a guy that USC's pass rush is slowly starting to come around, and if they get him back healthy, I think that even helps that out more. And they're going to face a different type of offense for the third week in a row. Stanford was, you're going to have tons of tight ends in there. You're going to have no tight ends in the game against Washington State. More of a traditional style of offense against Oregon State, an offense that actually leads the Pac-12 in yardage right now. Coming in, and a team that wants to run the ball more so than anybody else USC's really faced. So Chance Nolan is a quarterback that can do both. He can run, he can throw as well. He's a big dude, and Todd Orlando is really, effusive in his praise of him, the way he talked about how tough he is, when he threw an interception, going and trying to make the tackle and stuff like that. So they're going to have a tough challenge with that, and I think getting Nick Figueroa back is big because they've been a little bit thin on that defensive line, and Nick Figueroa is a guy that can move inside and outside, something they've done with Jacob Lichtenstein a little bit, and just with not having those true nose tackle, big bodies, having those guys that are versatile enough to move around is really big for them.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, this was the first time we got to talk to defensive coordinator Todd Orlando since last Wednesday, so we had to ask him about Washington State, what adjustments were made in the second half, how did the team look different, and it's kind of what we heard this whole time. Nothing really changed.
Yeah, no, it's just the players making more plays, and the players doing their assignment a little bit better. He felt like, just like Graham Harrell said, just like Vic Soto said, just like Dante Williams, that everyone was pressing a little bit early. And he said once everyone settled in, that's when you had that stretch where, Washington State went 7 drives with 0 net yards. That is a crazy stat. And USC had turnovers mixed in there. They had the strip sack of Drake Jackson, and he was very complimentary of Drake Jackson. Said he put in a lot of work last week. Said his GPS numbers were off the charts last week in practice and stuff. Was really working hard to be able to affect the quarterback in a different way. And I talked with Drake Jackson about that as well, and he said, I've been trying to get there, been having some, been beating some tackles, not being able to get there in time. And he said, I asked him, he was able to get there this time, get that strip sack fumble in the end zone. I said, when you got past the tackle, what was the thought they were going through? He said, go get paid. Go get paid. That's where the defensive ends make their money, is sacking the quarterback, and a huge game-changing play right there for him. So he was really excited about that play, and Vic Soto was as well, that they were able to get some of those sacks on the board. But Vic Soto was like, this is just a continuation. They just got to be consistent, and they have to be able to attack an opposition's weaknesses. And if they continue to do that, you'll start seeing the numbers continue to grow as far as the sacks and the turnovers and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned GPS numbers. For the fans who don't know, what does that actually mean?
That means, how much he's running in practice, how active he is, how much he's moving around. Just like your phone or your Fitbit tracks your steps. They have the trackers on their body during practice to see how fast they're running, how much effort they're putting out, in case they need to pull guys back and say, oh, that guy's been putting too much effort out. We need to save him a little bit on Thursday or on Wednesday. So that's where they track those numbers every day and take a look at them every day to see, all right, we don't want to overexert everyone. We want to keep everyone fresh enough. But his numbers were really high. The speed that he was getting off the edge with and stuff last week. So he was putting in a ton of work, and it showed out. It showed on Saturday with him getting to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was a lot made on Saturday about Drake Jackson putting his hand in the ground. Now, you got to talk about Vic So'oto and Drake about that, what they have to say.
Yeah, the edge rushers, Drake Jackson, Hunter Echols, those guys are coming off the edge in that B-backer position or in the Thule position as well, that defensive end. They have an option. Do they want to put their hand on the ground and be in a true three-point stance, or they want to stand up and be an outside edge rusher that way, like an old school Uchenna Nwosu or Porter Gustin was? And I talked to Drake Jackson because that was one of the things. I noticed a little bit of an adjustment that USC made after they ran the ball really well. Washington State did those first couple drives when only the defensive tackle had his hand on the ground, and a couple more guys started putting in. And I asked, was that something from the coaches? And they said no, that's just personal preference. Whatever the players want, whatever they're comfortable with. And I think because of the way they were running the ball, they decided let's focus a little bit more on staying down, staying good leverage there. But Vic So'oto said the same thing. Says just personal preference. He gives that option to them. And I said, well, do you want them to focus on one and really try to perfect that? He said, yeah, they have to perfect the three-point stance first, and then we start letting them do some other things. And he said that's when they were able to go up and down. Guys like Thule and Drake Jackson are guys who have, are making a lot of plays for USC, and actually those two guys have been the best graded defenders on USC's team the last 2 weeks back to back.
Now, this is going to be the first time that USC returns to the Coliseum following the firing of Clay Helton. How do you think this one's going to go, Shotgun?
I mean, it should be an electric atmosphere. I hope that the fans come out and support this team, through everything they've gone through the last couple of weeks. And I think that it's going to end up being a little bit closer than fans anticipate.
Really?
I think it will be. Oregon State is a sneaky team. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just Oregon State. But they're a quality team, and I think they figured out their quarterback position. I think that they're a team under Jonathan Smith that's on the rise as a program. So I expect it to be a little bit closer than people expect.
Interesting. All right. Any final thoughts, Shotgun, before we wrap this one up?
No, just great to be back out and to get a chance to talk to some of those defenders that made some big plays. Kalen Bullock talked with Chris Trevino, talking about his big interception. I think you talked to Jaden Williams about his interception, and talking to Drake Jackson about coming off the edge and getting that big sack. So it's fun to talk to those guys. We didn't get to catch all of them after the game. Talking about their successes after everything last week, where it was nothing about the play on the field. So it was a much more fun day in the interview sessions today.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for USC's Wednesday practice of Oregon State Week. For Shotgun Spratling, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.